Golly, and Reigns, and a goal! And they have done it! Oh, and driven in! And number 11, Matthew Hanlon, followed that in.
Will strike it! And it's gone all the way through! Oh, there you go! Not the cleanest of contacts, but Louis Johns scores for a third game running.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out first division Colchester City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago.
But the whistle goes now. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United and the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to the Sutton United podcast. It's Sutton Podcast. It's the Sunday service. I've messed up my title again. That's really good. I'll get it right one day. Joining me today is Chris. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Hiya, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Chris, last time we spoke, I love making it sound like this is a real regular thing. It was like in 2018, so it was April. It was almost cracking on for 4 years ago, and you were a relatively new supporter of Sutton at that point, if I
In comparison to some of your previous
yes. yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were doing the stewarding at the time.
I was.
And you still are.
I still am, yes. I was in the tunnel yesterday for the Exeter match. So it's been and so sometimes so like me and my colleagues are often we are liaisons with the fourth official, it's like when I signed up, it was things like Gosport Borough on a Tuesday night, and we weren't playing people like Bradford City or Exeter City.
Yeah, it's all very strange for a lot of us.
I now have to wear a suit.
Oh wow!
Which also means that like some people sort of like say, "Oh yeah, thank you for turning." So there are some people who kind of think, "Well, they think I'm staff. They think I'm paid. I'm not."
Volunteer staff is still staff.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I still have a fair bit of responsibility as well.
So well, you mentioned you liaise with the fourth steward.
Yeah.
Would you be getting involved in officials talking about the things like where certain things, if things are said or something, and the ref comes over? Is that where you guys get involved as well?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. And also, if the if the ref needs something moving or or clearing, or if the ref has any concerns. So like when we were in the that playoff match against Boreham Wood, sort of they came over and had a chat when they spotted the drones flying off, and we then had to go and have some conversations with the police to sort of say, "Oh, could we stop the drones?
How can we stop this drone?"
Yeah,
if we just started booting balls at it, would that be all right?
Yeah, because like we also had to have words with BT to say, "Is that yours?" I'm like, "No." I was like, "Oh, okay." So,
mind you, the way we played that day, our players could have booted balls at that drone for an hour or two and you wouldn't hit it. But anyway, never mind. We're talking about happy things.
Yeah.
So how long have you been supporting?
Supporting. So since since March 2014.
Excellent. Lovely.
So I've not experienced any of the downs. I've experienced a couple of sort of meh seasons, but I've also experienced some incredible highs.
Looking back on things like we were 16th, 17th in the National League as being the worst season for you to have. That's still
more than that. So
was it 16,
2014-15 when we were in the National League South? That was possibly not a great season.
Right.
And there were a fair few people that were kind of like coming up to me, sort of like saying, "Look, don't worry. Like last season was not a fluke. This season is this season's the outlier.
So based on it not being a great season, what made you keep coming back?
So my wife was writing a book, and so she made it quite clear to me that of a Saturday, I sort of needed just to kind of go and entertain myself. Yeah, and I kind of thought, oh, I might as well just kind of go and help. And so the very first time that I'd been in the grandstand and kind of like in like the club buildings was when I was kind of like being told to, oh, you'll be stewarding the tunnel. I was like, oh, okay, right, I will I?
Cheers, thanks for that.
Yes, yeah, because like I mean, I figured I might be just kind of like moseying around and just like making sure that everyone's okay. Because like I was like, oh, you'll probably have like proper trained people to do that. But I mean, that was in the days when we didn't have any professionals. And, now we have like we have a lot of professionals, and also like last year, roughly this time last year, I was taking an MVQ in kind of like stewarding. Because like we would it had been sort of I'd been told at the start of that season that look, it's probably never going to happen, but if ever we do go into the Football League, it'll be useful to have you with
everything in place.
Yeah. Yes.
Marvelous. So
which turned out to be quite prophetic.
Absolutely, yeah. So you mentioned last year,
yes,
without making everyone super angry at you and start throwing things at you, you were able to attend some of the games in a professional working capacity.
In a professional working capacity, yeah. So because like we had a red zone and an amber zone, and I was often at the edge of like the amber zone to stop, which is to stop journalists or anybody or kind of like any club officials going into the red zone.
Right.
And the red zone was kind of like the players and sort of referees,
coaching
and stuff. And so I was just often awkwardly posed, sort of like behind a dugout, so couldn't see that much. And like there was one time during, I think it was the Bromley FA Cup match, when one of the Bromley players had been sent off, but was refusing to walk because like the away entrance or the away dressing rooms were kind of like were not down the tunnel. They were, I think that they were
around
using,
the side.
They were using the toilets, I think.
Right, blimey.
so that there was to minimize any chance. Encountering people. So I was told you have to go into the red zone. I know you don't have a pass for it. You have to go into the red zone and you have to get him away and into the dressing room. So I had to go up to this guy who was like 6'5". I'm 5'4", listeners. So I'm not exactly imposing.
Naughty boy.
Yeah. So could you mind awfully? Could you please? So yeah, because the sort of thing that in a normal season there'd be a fair few professionals that would come along saying, "Yeah, could you?" But it was it was bizarre. And also like every match, like we'd have to have our temperatures checked. And, so it was a little I mean, it was a bit of a rigmarole, but I also appreciate how fortunate I was. And then kind of like later on the season, sort of my wife got told that she was on the critically vulnerable list. At which point I go, you know what? I'm not really going to be able to. Don't really want to risk bringing COVID into the house. That was fun.
I got a stack of letters like that.
Yeah,
and it all started off really super official with the Secretary for Health and blah blah blah, and then towards the end it was just being signed off Matt. And I was like, we're not friends. You've made me stay at home for such a long. We are not friends. Don't just sign it off with your first name, mate. We're not having that. So yeah, I could almost hear Matt from my balcony because I'm kind of about as far again from Collingwood House to mind, that's sort of up the hill.
Yeah.
So I could almost hear it, but not quite. It wasn't the same.
Yeah.
I did once or twice sit out on the balcony with the laptop watching the game, going, I'm almost there. I'm almost there.
Yeah.
But yeah, very 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 strange season and best season we've ever had. And
Yeah.
I do think that's adding to the bewilderment of everyone at the moment, because it happened, but it happened on TV for most of us, so we didn't really think this isn't real. I've mentioned before about the Hartlepool match. Lots of people remember towards the end of the match, brilliant atmosphere. But I remember it took until about 60, 70 minutes for people to kind of go, hang on, we've just won the title. What's going on?
It
but
took
yeah,
until the third goal for me to kind of go.
that is it.
But also as well, I was kind of like, I was slightly relaxing, but also I was just thinking, this could be mayhem.
Everyone was very good, actually.
Oh yes, they were. They were very good.
The announcements came and it was like, yeah, come on, people are going to do it, and no one did. So I was like, actually, it's really, really good, everyone. So well done, well restrained, everyone.
Yeah.
But as to this season, as you mentioned, mixing with some fairly big teams, and a couple of well, not a couple, a personal game for you yesterday.
Yes. Because I'm as well as a Sutton United fan, I'm a Plymouth Argyle fan, because I spent my teenage years in Plymouth. So I was kind of like, I was born in Sutton, so we always kept an eye on sort of Sutton's fortunes. I had made a mental note as to when the Exeter City home game was going to be, and it was. It was quite something.
Yeah.
I was also amused to see there were a few people. Some of the volunteers were accidentally wearing kind of like green and white, or sort of obviously the Suns, because our away scarves and hats are green and white, and I suspect that was done out of complete innocence. But I kind of figured that because a lot of the stewards know of my other allegiance, I couldn't get away with that. particularly big in the tunnel, because like
white,
to be
green shirt, white tie. You're in a suit,
yeah.
No one would have known.
No,
but as for the game, did you get to watch an awful lot of it, or I know you're sort of in an odd position, but.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the first two goals, which is good, because like there have been times there have been times where I miss goals because I'm just busy dealing with something. I didn't see the penalty, but that was just because at that stage I was just so nervous that I was standing next to Bobby Charles Senior, and he said, "Oh, we've got a perfect vantage point here." I said, "Yeah, but my back is turned," because I just didn't really. Yeah.
Seeing both the goals means you watched 90 seconds of the match.
Yes. It was good. I mean, I say good. Sort of like the first 10 minutes of the first half were brilliant, and then it felt like everyone just tired themselves out of it.
It was an odd. It was. I'm obviously everyone knows I'm not an expert, but I did kind of mention to Catherine the other day, it must be really odd for the players to be training to build up to a match that they don't actually know if it's going to go ahead or not. And after the last couple of cancellations, it must have been in their heads to be like, oh, this isn't going to happen. So it kind of just felt a bit leggy, and it was strange because they haven't played for a while, so you'd think people would be fresh, but I know why, and I kind of get it. But yeah, it was a bit of an odd one. The penalty, I actually said, I turned around and actually said to I think it was JR who was standing next to me, and when we were all huffing and puffing, I went, do you know what it is? I think that we're planning to score in like the 89th minute just to make sure they don't have enough time to come back. And I thought this was a perfectly solid plan. And next thing, 6 minutes added time go up, and I'm like, oh no, I forgot about the added time. I didn't factor that into my equation. But they held on. I mean, it wasn't it wasn't a game you're going to ever really show the video highlights to go, here, this is why you fall in love with football. But it was one of those. We're on 39 points now. Move on to the next one, and halfway through the season, absolutely would have snapped anyone's arm off for that.
Oh yeah, completely.
But I thought a couple players stood out. So I'm gonna put you on the spot and ask for a player of the day. I haven't got my pencil to write it down, so you've got another couple of seconds.
Yes, yeah. Well, I don't know. I think, who would I go for? I mean, I think Louis John was in the team of the day for the league. I've seen, but I mean, I do. I mean, Omar, I thought really worked hard for the team, and I mean, he always does, just give his all. Yeah, I have a soft spot for Omar, I have to say, and also as well. I mean, like in the time we don't have opportunity to have lots of chats with stuff, but Omar is always he's a lovely guy, and just on the rare conversation, he always just seems to be nice and friendly and stuff, and I would say he's he's as nice off the pitch as he's ferocious on it.
he does come across. I'm obviously follow him on Twitter and actually on Facebook as well. But yeah, he comes across as a really genuine guy. Delighted to be there. I had actually put him down as my player of the day if you didn't want to choose one. So yeah, I kind of picked him, and I was going to say, and I haven't worded this fabulously funny joke, but it is obviously hilarious. But when he was subbed, I was a bit surprised because it was 1-1 at the time.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, maybe Matt knows something that I don't know. And then I started weighing myself, going, there's a list of things that Matt might know that I don't know. It's going to be very long and extensive. My little football manager. And it's like, I don't know if Matt knows this. Yes, he does. So yeah, I actually agreed with Omar, to be honest. But yeah, he's put us back to third.
Yeah.
Technically, if all the teams around us win their games in hand, we are still in seventh. So they can't win all their games in hand because some of them are against each other anyway. But but technically, even if that happened, we're still in the playoff zone at the halfway point of the season. It's all a bit funny, absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, so it's going splendidly for us. And the next thing we're actually going to be talking about, and my next guest is waiting to join as well, is the Colchester game, which is hopefully going to be on. And joining me now is John. Hello, John.
Afternoon. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Now, just a little plug for people to watch live stream. John and I did one the other day to preview the Colchester game that we were supposed to have. It was hilarious. If you've missed it, you lost out because we decided not to go with it because about an hour after we did it, the game was called off. But we were hilarious and funny, weren't we, John? We were great. Yeah, it's probably the best viewing anyone's ever had.
Absolutely, yeah. It was absolute gold dust.
So, John, tell us a little bit about yourself to those who missed it, unfortunately.
Yeah, sure. I'm a reporter for the Colchester Gazette in North Essex, and been covering Colchester United since 2005. So, as I said to you before, had lots of ups and downs in that time. Promotions, relegations, sort of managers coming and going, new stadium, new chairman, everything really you can think of. So kind of on the downwards spiral at the moment, but hopefully won't be long before they can get back up towards where they were before when I first started covering it.
One thing you mentioned last time, I actually didn't pick up on. Only when I was thinking about things. You mentioned that you find us little things to talk about daily. Was it? You've got to find daily content.
Yeah, we're a daily newspaper in Colchester. That was one of the things that attracted me to the newspaper when I first started there in 2005. I'd previously written for a weekly paper in Stevenage, actually. And the attraction of sort of covering a league team on a daily basis and actually coming up with news then to fill the back page and more every day was really attractive. And of course, since then, there's been a huge shift towards online content. And although, it's really important what we put in the paper still, it's still, the online content is kind of a huge thing that we need to look after, as people will know. So things have changed a lot since I first started, but certainly the appetite for sort of coverage is still there, whether it's sort of online or print. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, no. Again, as I say, it took me a little while to process that. So do you ever kind of get torn with, I've got two bits I'd like to do and I'm going to sit on one, and then get stung by something overtaking it? Like for example, we had the thing and the game was called off.
Yeah, absolutely. All of the time, really. And it's kind of it's a hard sort of balance to strike sometimes, because as a journalist, you know that there's stuff that you have up your sleeve that will be pretty popular, kind of online and in the paper, and that is kind of exclusive. And it's a question of sort of making sure that you use it at the right time. If you use it too early, it may not have the impact that you would want. But if you kind of delay it and use it maybe a bit later than you would want to, then other people can come in and sort of steal your thunder, or something could come in and supersede what you want to write about. So it's kind of sort of striking the balance. And a couple of bits from yesterday that I've got that I'm sort of planning to run sort of tomorrow, perhaps, or ahead of the game, certainly on Tuesday, not necessarily related to the game itself, but the transfer window, things like that. So yeah, you're right. You kind of have, you're kind of blessed with information, but it's a case of knowing when to use it, really, and when the biggest impact will be in terms of sort of having it online, and number of hits you have, and etc. So yeah, it's kind of, I think it's something you get used to, having worked sort of in the industry for 20 odd years. I think you kind of get used to what will do well and when it will do well, but there's never kind of an exact science to it.
No. I mean, obviously, most of the people I've spoken to have been really long-term fans of their team. I've just kind of referred to Chris as a fairly new fan, and he's entering year 8. I think. Is that my son? Yeah, year 8. And he's a new fan. So with that comes a loyalty. Now I think you mentioned you were covering Colchester for like 15 years.
Yes.
Yeah. Memory.
Yeah. So it started at the end of 2005.
So the balance of being loyal to your players and then loyal to so if there's something that comes up that could put people in a bad light, is there a struggle, or do you just kind of have to go with it?
It can be, yeah. I think journalistically, your head always says, look, if there is something that needs to be reported, then it needs to be reported. And self-censorship and things like that with regard to information is kind of a road you don't really want to go down as a journalist. If you have that information and it needs to be in the public domain, as in the supporters, and you've gathered that in a fair way, then I think that needs to go out there. But on the other hand, club journalists, or sort of journalists covering clubs up and down the country, will probably agree with me in saying that there is a fine balance to strike between reporting on the club fairly and honestly, but also building and maintaining relationships with those people at the club that you kind of rely on for that information, as in the players and the manager and the chairman specifically. So there's always sort of a fine balance to strike with regard to that. And, you kind of have to sort of weigh up each story, on an individual basis, really, and make sure that, you get things right if you can. And that's always the aim, really. Accuracy is always the most important thing. But the player ratings are the hardest thing, I think, because as a journalist, you're building up these relationships with the players and you get to know them. But also you have to be very honest and mark them out of 10 for every game. And especially when a team's not doing particularly well, that can be quite tough. And obviously the fans are at the game as well, and they see the same game as you have, and they've got their opinions, and obviously entitled to them. And it definitely sparks debate, but whether it kind of makes my life easier is another matter, really.
Well, nothing's related to either one of our clubs, but I heard a story years and years ago. Gary Neville, when he was at Manchester United, and he was kind of full-on England international, and someone I knew happened to be in Manchester, and they were by a newsstand for the evening papers. Gary Neville's car pulled up, he got out, opened up the paper and went, 6! They always give me a 6! And folded it up and got back in the car.
But of course, the players never read the paper.
No, absolutely not. No. Never know what's in it. It was just the way they always give me a 6, and then folded it up and put it down again. So didn't even buy the damn paper.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it must be difficult because people. Well, what I see when I'm watching the game is to be fair, very little. I just kind of literally watch the game. I had one of the Sutton coaches on for the youth match, and they'd scored a great goal in the FA Cup youth match, and I'd seen it from a viewpoint. Oh no, yeah, it was a great cross, and he was talking to me about it, and I didn't really take it in. And then they put up a clip of it, and the movement for the goal started nearly about 30 seconds to a minute before my eyes came to, oh, this is an attack here. And as I saw it, and I just retweeted it and went, and this is why I'm never going to be paid to watch football, and I always pay to watch football, because you just don't see certain things. So we're not always privy to what the players have been told to do.
Absolutely.
So we might think, why isn't, for example, for us, Omar chasing down that ball? He may have been told, conserve your energy. You've got another game Tuesday, just conserve it. So we don't know. So that must be difficult with you giving an opinion.
It's
and then
a really good point.
Yeah,
a really, really good point. And especially the current climate with COVID, and certain players have suffered more from COVID than others. And yesterday, Colchester were at Crawley, and it was the first game back for them for 3 weeks. And several of their players had COVID and were playing in this game, but we didn't really know so much which players had it and which players had it badly, and which were kind of just had sort of the minor symptoms of it. So, you have to take things like that into account, I think, with sort of physical and mental lethargy that comes into the games immediately after you recover from something like that. So, but there's so many other things, as you rightly say. And I get home and watch the Quest goals after a Colchester game, and there's always things that I kind of think, I wish I'd spotted that during the game. Or, as you say, the build up to goals often can be lost in the kind of the euphoria of seeing your team score. So it's very interesting when you speak to coaches, isn't it, and managers, and they certainly see things in a different way. I always really respect anyone that's got the qualifications, anyone who's been in the game, and especially at the level that Sutton and Colchester are at the moment, and their views on how things are done, because it's always a learning process as someone coming from the outside, as it were.
Yeah, I've run Sunday leagues, and players giving it all this, I could have done this, could have done that. And it's like, you haven't got a clue. You're playing Sunday league for a reason. Honestly, you're not better than XYZ. And when people slate off the Premier League players, you're like, no, come on, just calm yourself down. Try it for a little while and see.
Yeah,
well, we had a fairly flat game yesterday. Similar reasons, we'd had a big break. I didn't actually realise we did have a few COVID cases as well, but not as many as other clubs. So our game was a bit dull and flat, but we did manage to get a win. Yours was 3-1, was it?
Yeah, 3-1 to Crawley.
3-1 to Crawley.
Yeah.
So with the whole, we don't know who's going to play, we don't know who's fit. Let's try and talk about the Pizza Cup, the magical, wonderful Pizza Cup that I love. My hat is on this. Love the Pizza Cup. Chris, what do you think of the Pizza Cup?
I've enjoyed it because for me, I think like the Crystal Palace game, which was our first match in the Pizza Cup, that and like we won that, and that was after a series of not terrific results at the start of the season, and I think that just really gave the team self-confidence. And so, regardless of what happens, I think I'll always have a soft spot for the Pappa Johns Trophy. And also because my other club is Plymouth Argyle, seeing us win at Pompey was magical. I think maybe, if we hang on in for a few more seasons at this kind of level, I might possibly get a little bit jaded towards the Pizza Cup. I hope not. I
think I said almost that word for word the other day. Where it's like to us, it's like all exciting, and as mentioned in the group stages, finding out it's 10 grand for a win. We were well up for this, but yeah, it may be in a few seasons we're like, oh God, do we have to? Can't we just put the kids into that? But loving it so far. Obviously, I hope that love affair continues beyond Tuesday. What's your thoughts ahead of the game, John?
This is a real bonus for Colchester in the sense that they should have actually gone out of the competition in the group stages, because they had a kind of winner takes all final group game against Ipswich Town, their neighbours. a few weeks ago and drew 0-0. Ipswich won the penalty shootout at the end of 90 minutes, and they were the ones to progress, along with West Ham United, or so we thought. West Ham were knocked out. Basically, they fielded an ineligible player and were told that they were being kicked out of the competition, and Colchester were reinstated. And so Colchester played Swindon and had a good win there, 2-1 at the county ground. And now they find themselves in this game coming up on Tuesday night. So it's kind of, as you say, financially, I think it's the biggest thing for a club like Colchester, possibly Sutton. The money that comes in for each win from this, it shouldn't be sniffed at, really, especially with the transfer window open now. And it all comes in very handy. So from a Colchester point of view, I think, no, away from the financial aspect, it's more about trying to get a win, because that yesterday's performance and result was particularly disappointing. And I know it's a cliche, but for them to win in this competition would be great going into sort of the next one, and bouncing back from that defeat is really important, I think, quite quickly, because it was only, I know it's for 3 weeks since their game previous to yesterday against Crawley, but that was a 3-0 defeat at Walsall, and they find themselves sort of dragging themselves towards the relegation zone at the moment. So they really need to try and have an uplift of some kind, whether that's in the league or the cup, it doesn't matter really. So I think that a win is really important for them on Tuesday.
Similar to what you were saying about the Crystal Palace match, Chris.
Yeah, very much so.
Getting that win. No disrespect, but hopefully you're not going to happen. So what was your thoughts, Chris? What do you think of the game?
I don't know. I mean, it just, I think a win, however we get it, would be lovely. But also as well, if we bow out at this stage, I think there's no shame.
No,
I mean, we won the group,
mm-hmm.
And so I think, I think we can certainly kind of leave the competition where our heads high, but it would be magical to get to Wembley. I know that's a fair view, it's a cross, but
yes.
but because
think
that's one of the few things I feel that as a Sutton fan, I haven't actually kind of achieved. I have been invited as a guest of Sutton United to Wembley for a Division 1 playoff, also League 1 playoff between Millwall and Bradford City a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be lovely to kind of like get
there
to
where,
and see Sutton United there.
I think a fair few of us haven't been at Wembley. There's only some of the very old guard would have gone years and years ago. I'm going to press you both for a prediction. I don't have my Football Manager thing to do it because it played a completely different thing for the day. So I have to actually try and make an actual prediction. So, Chris, what's your prediction for the game?
I think it'll be us on penalties.
Oh,
again.
I'll just put use penalties. That's not going to help me, is it? Sutton. I keep seeing your things on Twitter going, "Oh, they use this," and I was like, "Wait, oh no, hang on." I keep forgetting that.
Yeah, I think it's probably Cambridge over the years as well, because they're called the use, and Oxford United. There's a few of us actually. Yeah.
Well, for a long time on Twitter, if you typed in SUFC. Didn't come up with Sutton, nothing to do with Sutton. It was all Sheffield United and Southend United. And now it's like, well, Southend, you should just move away now. It's us. Got nothing to do with it. But what's your prediction, John?
Well, I'm inclined to agree with Chris in the sense that I think it might go to penalties, as it could be a close game. It's difficult to tell because we really don't know what sort of teams both clubs will put out because of the nature of the competition and what's going on at the moment with COVID. But I'm just going kind of by what Colchester did against Swindon in the last round, and they played a fairly strong team, and they were quite surprised that Swindon made lots of changes because of their position in the league. I don't know if Sutton will do that, but I think just judging by that, and I think the fact that Colchester really needs to get something from this game, and if it's a draw and a penalty shootout win, so be it. So I'm putting my optimistic hat on from a Colchester United point of view and saying Colchester United on penalties, but. I think judging by the league game between the two teams earlier in the season, Sutton were worthy winners that night. So I go back to what I say. Really depends on the starting lineups for both teams.
Well, I'm going to put you both down as a draw.
Sitting on the fence.
You can then if either one of us win the penalties, I'll give an extra point to that. I'm going to go with Sutton 2-1. No particular reason. I just popped into my head, so don't put any money on it, anyone. Mind you, you'd lost a lot of money on my predictions all the way through, so I'm pretty sure no one would be putting any money on.
To make it clear, I would like it to be a win for either, because like when it goes to penalties, obviously that means that I'm on duty for longer. So sometimes I have to guard the officials' dressing room afterwards. So
man.
Yeah. After the Port Vale game, I had to for half an hour. So so it could be a very long night on Tuesday.
After that Port Vale game, when I had to walk back through the park and go past the little skateboard parks, there was a Port Vale fan going absolutely bananas, trying to fight people, just anyone. And obviously, with Sutton, we're like, come on, behave. We were just walking past. So he decided he was going to walk into the skateboard park and try and pick a fight with some of the kids in there. And I'm like, someone needs to save that man, because this is Sutton. They're not going to mess around. They're not playing. Those kids aren't playing in that skateboard park. I don't know what happened to him. I never heard about him since, so I'm assuming he was all right. But strange people they were. I know losing 4-3 in the last minute is upsetting. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, strange bunch.
Particularly when they've been in the lead on two separate occasions.
Yeah, absolutely. What we'll do is I'm going to thank you both for your time. We'll finish up, but just if you hang on, because when I finish the stream, Chris is probably going to be in a much better position to give you a better answer about parking, John, than I was last week. Going, so what I'll do is I'll thank you both. Thank everyone for listening. Join in the chat on any of the socials at Sutton Podcast. I tend to use TikTok a lot less. I'll keep saying it. I'm on there, but I tend to use it a lot less. Thank you for listening. Let us know your thoughts, especially on the introduction. I need to give some feedback to the guy who did it for me. I did the right one this time, John. And I'll see you all next time. We'll see you at the Pizza Cup. Take care, guys. Thank you.
United!